finding myself thinking a lot about legal research, and there's been a whole lot of developments over the last couple of weeks that I think start to have sort of a common theme. And Describe, I know I saw Richard in the audience from Describe, and they had news this week that I haven't had a chance to write about. I don't know if anybody else did, but they announced this new what do they call it? New open connector, here's what they describe it. I'm reading their press release. A new initiative that enables law firms and legal organizations to build, customize, and control their own AI-powered legal research tools and workflows on top of Describe's legal engine. There's two parts to this. There's an SDK and a Python SDK that provides the technical foundation for connecting custom applications to Describe, and then there is a set of legal research workflows, which are reusable research processes that organizations can use, modify, or expand to reflect their own needs. So I guess what's interesting about all of this, I think, is that we're starting to see, I mean, it used to be legal research was legal research. I mean, there were different providers, but it was basically the same thing, right? I mean, you did use the same set of data, more or less. You approached it the same way, putting in queries and getting lists of cases. Obviously, AI products has changed that in some way, but again, it starts very much looking alike. Whether you go to Westlaw or Lexis, you put in a question and you get an answer, and you get a list of cases that matches that answer. But it seems like there's this whole trend toward making legal research much more customizable to the particular workflow, to the particular way you like to do research, to the particular applications you work with. And I haven't really put my thoughts together entirely on this, but I think we are kind of, in a sense, on the dawn of a whole new maybe spur in the way legal research products are going to be developing over the next couple of years. So I don't know. Does that make any sense? Anybody think there's anything to that, or?
Yes.
I don't know. Oh, so go ahead, Ruth.
I have some shameless self-promotion. I actually did two articles in this, or potentially three. I cannot remember. It was like in April and May. And it's just kind of like, like around the explosion of like legal research startups and like why we're seeing that explosion right now. And it essentially comes down to two issues. One, the tech has improved where somebody can essentially tell like the AI agents to go to all these court websites and just scan everything and to do it in real time, and they can do it cheaply too. Like it's crazy how Describe is like, a very tiny company, and it's a husband and wife team, and they were able to do stuff that I was quite impressed with. Like in 2016 when I first came here, like I talked to Case Techs and to Ross too, and like they were the new kids on the block, and it was really hard to acquire all that case law. Like it's really easy these days. Like we are in the second Cambrian explosion, essentially. And I cannot actually say that quote's from me. I talked to uh, Pablo at Case Text, and he, called it the second Cambrian explosion. And he sees the whole industry changing.
When you take a matter that's designed for, not a matter, but a model designed for legal and apply it to a reliable legal database, the output is unbelievable, and it's far exceeded the output from either of those LLMs applied to their data, companies, guardrailed and everything else LLMs that they had applied to their databases. So I think 100% that the trend is going to be exactly what you were both talking about. It's sort of this customizable ability to do research, but also I think the top is going to be one of these models tailored for legal, applied to one of the many different case law and regulatory databases. So we'll see, but you can get a lot done with them.
Yeah, and you talk about, I forget what we said, Pablo said this is the second I forget what he said. But there was in fact an earlier kind of surge, in the, like around 20, what was it? Andrew can tell us when. I think it was 2014 that Ross got launched, Casetext launched around the same time, Ravel launched around the same time. And those were all, again, sort of attempts to take very different approaches to legal research. But I think Reese and Nikki both kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of talking about how the technology now makes it so much easier to do this, and not just to try and do some more or less slight variation on what Westlaw and Lexis are doing, but to really be different in your approach to how you build these products. So it really is it's a really interesting time, I think, for the field. And it's funny because I just, over the years of watching legal tech, it's one of those topics that has sort of come up in waves. It's like for years nothing new happens in legal research, and then there will be this surge of a bunch of new products, and then nothing new will happen again for a while, or nothing major. But we're certainly in one of those times right now. So I think really the real threat, and we've talked about this a million times, isn't all these myriad little startups that are coming along and building MCP connectors or something. The real threat is that company that they're all building the connectors based on. I mean, it's Anthropic, it's OpenAI. When you talk about asking Westlaw or Thomson Reuters whether they see this as a threat, to me, that and we've talked about this a million times, but it's the general models that are the threat here, and and that extends to almost all of legal tech. I mean, it's really getting to the point where there isn't anything you can build on just on Claude that you would need a separate platform for. I hate to say it.
I just feel like, well, and this is what I thought about the Describe news earlier when I heard it too, and I also haven't had a chance to write about it, but there is something to be said for those big, like we were talking about the open weight models and everything. The downside of those big folks who can come in and, do a lot in this industry, but they also don't give somebody the kind of power to create their bespoke version of what they want to do nearly as well. And that's why, like, when I was talking with Describe about what they're doing, I kind of liken it more as, the analogy I came away with was more like an IKEA situation where you say, I'm not going to try to sell furniture at this point because everybody, whatever, but I've already done the work of building designs, and you can put together what you need to do on top of this. But I'm going to start basically selling the fact that I've come up with a better, done the legwork on the design. And I think there is something to that might be the intermediary, because I think we kind of have talked about the idea of like a Claude or OpenAI out of a box jumping into legal, but I think we're going to see them stumble just over the fact that all legal is slightly different. But if you can be in between and give something that allows folks to build what they need with, a little bit of technical stuff already done, like that might be a strong place to be, because I think everybody's going to want to have some degree of control over what their AI looks like in the near future.